Myself Padmaja, Associate Professor, Department of CAC, Institute of Aeronautical Engineering, Hyderabad. Now, let us discuss today a number of questions related to the C basics. Now, coming to the programming language C, first we need to understand what are the data types. So, what are the data types supported in C programming language? Now, the data types which are supported in C is mainly categorized into three types. One is called the basic or primitive data types, then derived data types and user-defined data types. Now, the primitive data types are also known as the fundamental data types, and next is called derived data types and user-defined data types. So, let us see that what are the basic or fundamental data types. So, under fundamental data types, we have integer, float, double and character. Similarly, void is a separate data type. You can also count it under the basic data type or fundamental data types. So, int, float, char and double and float, that will come under fundamental data types. Now, under derived data types, you have arrays, pointers and function. Then, under user-defined data types, we have enum, structures, union, typedef and so on. So, this is regarding the data types supported in C language. Now, the next question is related to the header files in C language. Now, the header files are also known as the library files. Now, they contain two essential things. So, whenever you want to use any function, then you have to write down the appropriate header file in your program. Now, what the header file contains? The header file contains the definitions and prototype of the functions that is being used in a program. So, the functions, the built-in functions are grouped into several header files according to their usage. That means, if a number of input-output related functions are available, then that comes under stdio.h, standard input-output header file. Similarly, math-related functions are there under math.h, string-related functions are there under string.h. So, based on the usage of or the functionality of these functions, the functions are categorized into different header files. Now, C supports a number of header files. So, whenever you want to use any function, you have to write down the appropriate header file in your program. Now, each header file consists of a set of functions. Now, example is stdio.h is a header file that contains the definition and prototypes of the functions like printf and scanf. Now, the third question is related to the syntax error versus semantic error. What do you mean by a syntax error? Syntax errors occurs when the rules of the programming language are violated. That means whenever you are writing any reserved word or keyword, those reserved words, for example, if the reserved words are there or keywords are there, if you are using like a variable in the program, that means the rules of the programming languages you are violating. For example, whatever the syntaxes are there, like how to write a if condition, how to write a structure or function or array. So, if you are violating the rules, how to write down those things, then you will get the syntax error. Or whenever at the end of the sentence you have to write a semicolon, but you have forgotten, you have to write the braces for multiple statements in a programming language. Those things are called the syntax error. So, syntax errors occurs when the rules of the programming languages are violated. Similarly, what do you mean by semantic error? Semantic errors occurs when the statements are not meaningful. Okay. For example, you will do some errors like divide by 0 or out of bound errors, or which are not meaningful. Or if you will create some logical errors, then those are called semantic errors in programming. Next question is related to variables versus constant. What do you mean by a variable and how it is different from constants? Now, what do you mean by constant? Constant is nothing but a fixed value which cannot be altered after its definition. Now, they are also called literals. Constants are also literals. So, the constant can be of different types. based on what value it contains. It can be of different types, like integer constants are there, character constants are there, your floating point constants are there, enum constants are there. There are different types of constants used in C language. Now, in C, there are two different ways to define a constant. If you want to define a symbolic constant, then you can use the preprocessor directive has defined. Has defined is used for defining the symbolic constant. Similarly, there is another way to define a constant using the constant keyword. const is the keyword for defining a constant. So, this is regarding the constant. Now, what do you mean by a variable? So, variable is simply known as a container to store some data. Okay. Now a variable name normally identifies a place in the storage location or in memory. So, how to write a variable? A variable should be first declared using the primitive data types, and you can use the uppercase, lowercase letters along with the combination of digits and underscores for writing a variable name. So, a variable name is an identifier which identifies a memory location and which is also a container or placeholder for storing some data. Now, C is a case sensitive language, so you have to follow the rules of identifier while writing the variable names. Okay, therefore, the variable name, if you are mentioning here width, you have declared as width, but while using that variable, then you are writing as capital or uppercase width, then you will get error because this width and these are the two different names. So, you have to be careful regarding the case sensitivity of the language. So, variables whose values keep on changing whenever you do some operations on those variables. And the variable names are the names which are the alternate names for a particular memory location. As a programmer, it is always difficult to access a value using the location. If you are not using any pointer concept, then we should better give a name to that area and we can access the value using that name. But internally, those names are mapped with the addresses. Now, coming to different types of keyword, there is a keyword called void, and when is the void keyword should be used. So, we should understand that in any computer programming like C, void is used to return any data from the functions. So, it is used as a function return type. But void cannot be used like other normal primitive data types. It cannot be used to declare any variables. Now, it indicates whenever you write void in the function return type, it indicates that the function doesn't return any value. So, when void appears in a pointer declaration, whenever you declare a pointer as a void pointer, it indicates that the pointer is of type universal. So, if I am writing void star PTR, then this pointer has no specific type. It is an universal pointer, or it is also known as a generic pointer. So, this generic pointer can be converted into an integer pointer, character pointer, or float pointer, or any specialized pointer. You can do type conversion and you can use it. Okay. So, void is also used for declaring pointers, which is a universal pointer type. Now, whenever you will use the keyword void in the functions parameter list, it indicates that the function takes no parameters or arguments. So, the void keyword has different uses. Let us summarize. One is called void can be used as a function return type. Void can be used as a function parameter, and void is also used in pointer declaration. So, this is the uses of void keyword. Now, next question is related to how to compile and run a C program. For compiling and running a C program, the process of compiling and running involves majorly 4 stages. One is called pre-processing, second one is called compilation, then linking and loading. So, there are 4 modules or softwares which are involved in the compilation and running of a C program. One is called preprocessor module, compiler module, linker and loader. Now, let us see one example how to do this process. For example, you have written the C source code using any IDE and let us call it as program1.c. Now, the program may contain a number of preprocessor directives. Okay, so before it goes for compilation, the preprocessor module has to replace it with its original values. So the preprocessor will produce the expanded code or preprocessed code. That is called that the program changes to program1.i. That is the intermediate version, which is called the preprocessed code. Okay. Now this preprocessed code will be then compiled by the compiler and it will produce the object file .o or .obj file. So now the compiled code is also known as object code and the program name is program1.o or obj. Then a number of libraries which you have written has to be included. So the other library files which you have written in your program is included and the linker comes into picture, which will link your program with the library files so that the number of functions which you have used in your program will work properly. And then the executable, then the program is loaded into memory and the executable code is produced by the loader. So that is called the program1.exe is prepared. So these are the 4 important stages involved in the processing or compiling and running of a C program. Next question is related to the features of C programming language. Why C is a very popular language from last 4 decades and it is always in the top 10 languages. So it has a number of features related to the procedural style and it has the features of modularity, it has the features of low-level programming features and it has applications in embedded systems, in gaming, in low-level or in system-level programming. It has a number of applications. So let us discuss about what are the features of C programming. So you can see here that it supports procedural style of programming, procedural language it is. Then it is a very fast and efficient programming language because it supports the pointer concept. So pointers directly deal with the memory addresses and whenever you are using any pointer concept, then the program execution will be faster. Next is it supports the modularity concept. A function, a program can be written as a collection of functions for doing multiple tasks together. So a single C program can contain multiple functions to do various operations. Now, then it is statically typed language. That means whenever you want to use any variable or array or function, first you need to declare it. So that is called statically typed. So it is not it is not a dynamically typed language. Next, it is used for multiple applications. That's why it is called a general purpose language, which has both high level and low level features. Next, it is having rich set of built-in operators. So it is a vast repository for operators for doing various tasks. Next, it has vast libraries collections with rich set of functions also. Then it supports both high and low. So in some cases, it is also known as a middle level language. Then it has the portability as the feature because you write a C program and you can run it in different environments. Then it is easy to interpret and easy to extend the program. So these are the various features of C programming language. Next question is regarding the operators in C language. So what are the operators in C language? So what do you mean by an operator first? So an operator is a symbol that operates on a value or a variable. Now, C has a wide range of operators to do various operations. So first category of operators is called arithmetic operators. This arithmetic operator, there are 5 arithmetic operators available: plus, minus, multiplication, division and modulus. Next category of operator is called relational operators: less than equal to, greater than equal to, double equals to and not equals to. So you can also say the double equals to and not equals to are called comparison operators. So comparison operator, all the operators are used for comparison. So relational operators are also known as comparison operators. Then the third category of operators is called logical operators. So truth table, logical, and, or, and not is supported for doing the various logical operations. Next is called the increment and decrement operator, which is double plus, plus plus, and minus minus. So it can be used for writing plus plus a and a plus plus. So that means if you will prefix it, then it is called your pre-increment. If you will suffix it, then it is called post-increment. Similarly, you can write minus minus a or a minus minus for pre-decrement and post-decrement. Next comes to bitwise operators. So whenever you want to work on the machine level bit by bit, then you have to use these operators. So bitwise AND, bitwise OR, bitwise XOR, ones complement, left shift and right shift are the bitwise operators. Next, assignment operators are there. Assignment operators are basically two types. One is called simple assignment and one is called compound assignment. So simple assignment equal to is a simple assignment operator, whereas when the assignment operators are combined with either arithmetic operators or bitwise operators, then these are called the compound assignment operators. So plus is equal to, minus equal to, multiplication equal to, modulus equal to, and division equal to. These are the 5 arithmetic operators combined with assignment operators. Similarly, the bitwise operators are also combined with your assignment operators. So these are called the compound assignment operators. Then the next category of operator is called conditional operators or ternary operators. So whenever you want to test any condition and based on that you want to take a decision, then it is a substitution for if-else conditions in C programming. Now, the last kind of operators are a number of special operators are available. One is called the size of operator to check the size of any data type. Next is called comma. Comma is a special operator. Then your ampersand is a special operator which denotes as the address operator also. And arrow is used in structures for using in the pointer concept also. So these are called some of the special operators available in C language. Now let us talk about the operator precedence and associativity. What do you mean by precedence? So whenever you execute any mathematical expression or any expression you want to evaluate, then the expression may contain a number of operators and those operators are evaluated based on their precedence. That is, the order of evaluation will depends on their precedence and associativity. Associativity tells whether the expression should be evaluated from left to right or from right to left. So coming to all the operators in C language, you can observe it over here that the plus plus and minus minus, which is called suffix or postfix increment or decrement, will have the highest priority and it is from left to right. Similarly, function calling, array subscripting, then the structure union uses the dot and arrow operator, and the typecasting by writing the compound literals. These are all you're having highest priority and the associativity is from left to right. Next highest is your prefix increment or prefix decrement, then your unary plus and minus, then logical operators, not and bitwise not, then your indirection operator that is used in pointers, your size of operator, address operator, alignment operator. These are all the having the second highest priority and it is from right to left associativity. Then the third type is called multiplication, division and modulus are the 3 arithmetic operators having the priority third highest and it is from left to right. Similarly, plus minus, binary plus minus are the arithmetic operators. It is having fourth highest. Then your left shift and right shift is having bitwise left shift and right shift are having fifth priority. Then less than equal to, greater than equal to are having sixth priority. Then your comparison operator equals to and not equals to is 7th priority. Then bitwise AND, 8th priority. 9th priority is bitwise exclusive OR. 10th priority is bitwise OR. Then logical AND or conditional operator is 11, 12 and 13 respectively. And the 14th priority is given to the all types of assignment operators, and comma will be having the least priority, which is there at the end. So you can observe over here all the assignment operators are having associativity from right to left. And also the second category is prefix increment, decrement, your unary plus minus, and all those size of address operator and all those are also having the associativity from right to left. Otherwise remaining all are from left to right. Now, next question is regarding the scope rules. Now, what are the scope rules followed in C language? Scope of an identifier is a part of the program where the identifier may be directly accessible. So, where a particular identifier is visible and where it is alive. If you want to know the visibility and the aliveness of the program or of the identifier, then you must know the scope of that identifier. So all the identifiers in C language are statically scoped or lexically scoped. So there are basically 4 different types of scope rules. So what is the first scope rule? That is called file scope. First type of scope rule is called file scope. Now, the scope of the, if you have declared an identifier in a file, then the scope of an identifier starts at the beginning of the file and ends at the end of the file. Now, it refers to only those identifiers that are declared outside of all functions, and the identifiers of file scope are visible all over the file identifiers having file scopes as global. Next is called block scope. Scope of an identifier begins at the opening brace and ends at the closing brace. So within this is called a block, and within this, whatever the identifiers you have declared, then the scope is bounded by your parenthesis. So this is called the block scope. Identifiers within block scope are local within their block. So outside the block, you cannot access those identifiers. Now, next is called function prototype scope. So identifiers declared in function prototype are visible within the prototype only. These are not, the scope is not global, it is not accessible or visible outside it. Then the last is called the function scope. Function scope begins at the opening of the function. Suppose I have written a function f with some parameters. Then the scope begins at the beginning of the function and ends with the closing braces. So the function scope is applicable to the labels only. A label is declared, is used as a target to do the goto statement, and both goto and label statement must be in the same function. Suppose you are using any goto statement within the function, then suppose I am writing some goto, some label L. So where you are jumping, so the label must be within the function only. So this is called function scope. So finally you have to remember there are 4 types of scope rules. One is called file scope, block scope, function prototype scope, and the function scope. Next question is related to type conversion in C language. So how many types of type conversion processes are there in C language? So there is a concept called typecasting. Typecasting is basically nothing but the conversion from one data type to another data type. There are 2 ways to do type conversion. One is called implicit type conversion and explicit type conversion or typecasting. So implicit conversion is also known as automatic type conversion. Now, automatic type conversion or implicit type conversion is done by the compiler on its own without any external trigger from the user. So user did not write any explicit statement to convert the data type from one data type to another data type. And it generally takes place when the expression is having more than one data type. And it is possible for implicit conversion, so that if it is that in implicit conversion, it is possible that sometimes you may lose information. So that is the problem with implicit conversion. So if you will see the implicit your conversion category, booleans, you will see the order. Booleans can be converted into char, char to short char. This is the order it follows. Okay, long double to long double or float to double and so on. So implicitly, multiple data types are there in a single expression, then it will be implicitly converted by the compiler. Then the next category of conversion is called explicit type conversion or explicit typecasting. Now, the process for explicit typecasting is user defined. That means here the user can typecast the result to make it as a particular type of data. Suppose you want to convert from int to your integer to float or to any other type, then you can explicitly cast it. Suppose there is a float variable x is equal to 10.5 is there. Okay. Now you are writing that y must be of int of x. If you are writing like this, then this float variable will be explicitly converted into an integer so that the fractional part will be truncated. Similarly, if y is a integer variable and you want to convert into float type explicitly by writing your float of y, then it will be converted into float of y. The integer will be converted into float by adding the decimal part to it. So the syntax is type followed by expression you have to write down. Now, the next question is related to formatted and unformatted functions in C language. Now, what do you mean by a formatted function? The formatted IO functions and unformatted IO functions. Formatted IO function allows you to supply the input or display the output in some user's desired format. Okay, and suppose printf and scanf functions are there. These are examples of your formatted IO functions. Whenever you want to display some data on the screen, then you have to specify the format using the control string and the spacing requirement and so on. Now, similarly, whenever you are reading some data, then also you have to use the control specifiers or control string that how to read the data and what type of data should be read and where it should be stored. These are called formatted IO functions. But there is another category called unformatted IO functions, which are the most basic form of input and output, and they do not allow to supply input or display the output in user desired format. Okay, user will not give any specific format in what way it has to print the output or to read the output. Examples are getCH to get a character or getChe or getChar. These three functions are used for reading the character input. Similarly, you have getString function, putString function, putChar function. These are some of the examples of unformatted IO functions. And what is the difference between these two? Let us understand. A formatted IO functions contains format specifiers in their syntax. Okay, like if I am writing printf to print some output, then I can mention percentile phi suppose print the value of x. So here it is in the format of percentile wd, where w is the width, and I'm telling that the x value is an integer type or decimal type, so that you print this decimal value by giving 5 spaces to x. So you're allocating 5 spaces and you're printing one decimal number or an integer. Okay. Similarly, whenever you are reading some data, you can write the format specifier, your percentile c or percentile phi c 2c on some variable ch. So here you are specifying the format specifier in these functions. So these are called formatted IO functions. But unformatted IO functions do not contain any format specifier in their syntax. Third one is formatted IO functions are used with all data types. So every primitive data type, int, char, float, double, everywhere you can use this format specifiers, and unformatted IO functions are used mainly for characters and string data types. So there is a limited usage of unformatted IO functions that is used only for characters and strings. Next question is related to the escape sequences in C language. So what are the different escape sequences are there? So there are a number of escape sequences are there which begins with backslash. So backslash A is for audible alert, that is for a alarm or beep sound you can use. Backslash B you can use it for backspace. Backslash F for form feed. Backslash N for new line. Backslash R for carriage return. Backslash T is for tab. Backslash V is for vertical tab. If you want to display a slash in the output, then backslash slash, then followed by, if you are displaying output for single quote, backslash single quote or double quote or a question mark, which will be visible in your output. Then for octal number, for hexadecimal number, for a null character, backslash 0, and so on. So on. These are the different escape sequences used in C language. Now, let us move on to our Deb C++ compiler and run a number of programs related to the operators, data types, concepts in C language. Now, let us do some programs related to the C basics. So, start with hash include stdio.h, int main, and write down the structure of C programs. Return 0. Now, let us discuss about a small example. Suppose int x. Int x is equal to, suppose I am writing 10, 20, 30 and print the value of x. Now, what will be the output of this program? So, first save it. Let me give it as test.c and run this program. Now, you are getting an error. Why you are getting an error over here? Because in C language, in a single statement, variable declaration and multiple value assignment is not allowed. So, due to that reason, what we will do here, we will just declare the value of x and then we will do. So, here we will just change this to declaration and then followed by, we will write down x is equal to 10, 20, 30. Now, let us compile it and check whether the program is giving any error or not. So, if you will see over here that now the program is not giving any error. Now, what is the output you are getting over here? The output you are getting some garbage or some address kind of thing over here. So, what mistake we have committed in the program? Let us check. So, we have committed the mistake by writing ampersand. So, I have given the address of x. I have given the address of x. So, if I remove the address operator, because in the printf, you want to print the value of x onto the output screen. So, you need not write ampersand. So, let us execute the program again. So, what is the output now you are getting? You are getting the output as 10. Why you are getting the output as 10? Because we have to understand the operators over here. Now, in this expression, we have equal to, which is an assignment operator, and a comma operator is there. Out of these two operators, which operator has got more priority? So, the equal to operator has got more priority. So, the first value, the assignment operator has got more priority. So, the first value 10 will be assigned to x. That's why in the output you are getting the output of x is equal to 10. Now, let us do a small change to this. Let us use a parenthesis. Use a parenthesis before and after the values. Now, what will be the output of this code? Now you can see that the output is coming as 30. So, why the output is coming as 30? Because in this expression, how many types of operators are there? There are 3 operators. One is called parenthesis, then you have assignment operator, and then you have comma operator. So, out of these 3 operators, you can see that you have seen that the parenthesis has got the highest priority. So, based on that priority, parenthesis will be executed first. So inside the parenthesis, comma is there. So parenthesis associativity is from left to right. So the values will be read 10, 20, 30 will be from left to right you are reading. And the last value 30 will be assigned to x. So that is the reason you are getting the final value of x is 30. Now let us move on to the next example. Suppose here I have declared a variable x and let me change over here that I have written printf welcome to C. I have written a string to print over on the screen and then I am printing the value of x on the screen. Now what will be the output of this program? Now you can see the output as coming as welcome to C then followed by 12. Okay. Now let me put one /n that is called an escape sequence \n so that what will be the output over here. Now you can see that welcome to C is a string which you have given for printing is coming as it is on the screen and then followed by what is the value of x that it is printing. The value of x is nothing but the length of the string. So printf function prints the string onto the screen and also it returns the length of the string that it has printed. So what is the length of this string? Is 13. So that is stored into x and then x value is printed as 13. So this is another small example. Next, let us in the similar manner, let us read some variables. So I will write x comma a comma b. Now I'll write down a message printf enter the value of a and b. Enter the value of a and b. And instead of this, I'm going to write down a scanf statement. Scanf. Then I'm reading two integers. So I should write %d twice. Okay. Because it is a formatted IO function. So two integers are there. And I have to provide the address of A and address of B. Address of A and address of B. Okay. Now, what is the return value that is given by scanf function? Let us check it. So let us execute this program. So first you have to compile and run this program. So whenever you are running this program, it is asking enter the value of A and B. So suppose I am entering 10 and 20. So these two values will be stored into A and B respectively. Now what you are getting? The value of x. I am not printing the value of A and B. I am printing the value of x. So what is the value of x that will be printed? Value of x indicates the return value from the scanf function. So scanf returns how many values or variables it has read. So scanf has read two variables. So scanf has returned the value 2 that is stored into x and whenever you want to print it, it is printing the value of x as 2. Okay. So this is the way you have to write down. Now let us move on to the next example. In the next example, let us use a printf function. So I need not go for any variable declaration. Okay. So I'm writing %d comma. Let me write down a message over here to print it. Welcome to C. Okay. Now, so what will happen that whether this string will be printed as it is on the screen or not, let us check it. So when you run this program, you can see that what is coming? It is coming some address. So what you have to do? Let us declare. Okay. So this is a, okay. Let us take a number here. Okay. Let us take a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now what will be the output? So here I have written %d. That's why I have changed the string. Otherwise I should have written %s. Okay. Now here one number we have taken and we want to display. So you can see over here that number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is printed as it is on the screen. Now let us do some changes to this program. Now here instead of writing %d, let me write %d plus 0 or plus 1. Percentile D plus 1. Then let us check what is the output now. Now, what you can see over here, only D is coming as the output. What is the meaning of it? The meaning of it is percentile D is a control character which is read from left to right. So, percentile D makes some sense to the compiler that it is a control specifier that you need to print an integer. But whenever you specify as 1, then that string percentile D will be read from first position. So, percentile symbol is there at 0th character and D is there at first character. So, you are telling that you read the string from first character. So, it is reading the string from first character which is D. So, D itself is not having any meaning that to print a decimal integer. So, that's why only D is coming on the screen. Okay, so this is the example. Next, let us go for another example. Suppose I am writing work and then another string hard. Two strings I have written like this. Then when I will run this, what will be my output? Now you can see here that two different strings are given in a single printf statement and these two are concatenated or combined. So you are getting the output as work hard. Okay. Now let us try to put a comma in between the strings. Then what will happen? So let me put a comma in between these two strings work and hard. Now what will be the output of this program? Now you can see that it has given the output as work only. Okay. See the difference. If you want to go for concatenation, then don't use comma. But if you want that from one of the string should be displayed, then it will take the first string, that is work only. Okay. Similarly, we will go for another example. Suppose there is an integer variable int v is equal to 10. Integer variable is there. Then we will try to do some increment decrement operation on this. So let us declare another variable called result and write result is equal to v plus 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 2 or let us say 5. Okay, and then print the value of percentile D over here and print the value of result. Then what will be the output of this? So when you run this, what you are getting? You are getting the value as 15. Okay. Now let us do some changes to this program. Now here, along with this, if I am writing plus plus v, then what will be my output? So how it is evaluated? So v plus plus whenever you are writing, or directly let us not take this result variable, and instead of this result variable, let us write down directly this expression. Okay, over here you can also write like this. Then what will be the output? Let us remove this plus 5 also. Okay, then what will be the output of this code? Now you can see over here that the value is coming. Okay, let me remove this this expression and run it again. As you have copied this into the printf statement, so let us remove this line. Now what is the output of this? You can see the output is coming as 22. Now, in case of plus plus and minus minus operators or increment decrement operators in C language, the most of the results that you will get after using this plus plus and minus minus are compiler dependent. So here v plus plus. So v plus 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 v. V plus plus whenever you are doing, the initial value of v is 10. So as it is post decrement, so initial value of v is 10 plus. So whenever it goes to the next part of the expression, the value has already become 11. Okay. Then in the second pre-increment plus v, 11 becomes 12. 11 becomes 12. So 10 plus 12, it becomes 22. Okay. So in this way, a number of problems can be solved using the basics of C language. In this video, we have learned a number of questions, frequently asked questions related to the basics of C language, followed by we have done some programming on the operators and data types. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.